Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon, and we're going to talk about, well, one of my favorite games from the 90s was actually Sam and Max. Sam and Max Hit the Road. I used to play it all the time on my old 486 computer. I played a lot of those point-and-click LucasArts games, and Sam and Max was hands down my favorite. I loved it. I wasn't familiar with the comic book, but I played the snot out of the game. I played through it several times, loved it, and actually checked out the comic book by Steve Purcell later. Now, they do have another Sam and Max game, Sam and Max Save the World, and it is getting a remaster. And apparently, some of the jokes from this years-old game are too spicy for 2020. I'm shocked. Sam and Max has always been kind of edgy, but I really think it was PG-13 at best. Most jokes went over most people's heads, but we're talking about 2020 when everyone is offended by everything. So I got to give a hat tip to Bounding in the Comics. That's where this article came from. Go to boundinginthecomics.com for this content and more content. I'm afraid to link to them in my video description, though, because I link to outside websites. They're not Clownfish TV sites, and for some reason they get dinged. I don't know what is up with that, so I'm just going to tell you where to go. And before we get into that, please subscribe to Clownfish TV for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We're over 150,000 subs, hoping for 200,000 soon. And check out Geeky's Toy Drive. This is actually the storage room in our studio. We rented a small office building, and this is actually a very large room where we keep all of our supplies and stuff, but she's filling it up with toys for underprivileged children, and there are a lot of them. This year because of the economy being as bad as it is. Things are not good. And if you want to help, you can buy something off her Etsy shop. She's got some stuff left here. I'll put a link in the comments section below. Go to the comments, and all the proceeds from these items go to helping kids in need this holiday season. What is this? Mall Santa goes viral for telling kid no guns when the boy asked him for a Nerf gun. Well, we got Nerf guns in the pile, so there we go, guys. There we go. But let's talk about Sam and Max. Sam and Max Save the World Remastered changes several jokes that developers were uncomfortable with in 2020. So the recently released remake of the classic Telltale adventure game Sam and Max Save the World has had several jokes censored from its original release, with developer Skunkape Games explaining that these edits were made as they were uncomfortable, including the jokes in 2020. So they talked about the original game. This is Sam and Max Hit the Road, which I freaking love. One of my favorite computer games of all time. And they were talking about the developmental issues surrounding the franchise that led the detectives to disappear from video games for nearly 12 years before Purcell transferred the rights from Sam & Max to Telltale, resulting in the development and eventual release of Sam & Max Save the World. So it was released in 2006 and 2007, and the cartoon detectives took on a series of new cases as they investigate a rash of strange hypnotisms occurring across the world. I actually have not played through all of this. I played, I think, the first chapter, ages ago, but I didn't get that far, and I feel bad, but now I'm definitely not going to check this out. On November 9th, Skunkape Games, founded by Telltale co-founder Dan Connors, named in reference to the Sam & Max character General Skunkape, announced that they would be releasing a remaster of Sam & Max Save the World, as the original game's assets had become too outdated to simply re-release. Given the adult and cynical nature of the game's humor, some fans met the announcement of the game's remastering with caution, but were initially assured by Skunkape that the only changes coming to the game would be to the camera work and comedic timing. That's key, right? Tom S. Fox stated, on one hand, they promise that all jokes will be as we remember them, but then they immediately contradict this by saying that they may be even better than we remember them, implying they tinkered with them. So what is it? Will the dialogue be the same or not? Fox then added, I'm hesitant about pre-ordering it until I get a clear answer. Well, now we got it. A development team member, Fav, would attempt to clarify, saying changes to the camera work and comedic timing mean that some of the jokes land better than they did originally. Better. They're better now because they're censored. Collectively, the improvements and added polish make for a better overall experience, so when you replay the game, you may come away from it feeling like it's an even better or funnier game than you remember it being. It's funnier because it's censored. It's funnier because it's politically correct. In response to the topic's original poster who asked if the lines remain untouched, the developer said yes. However, as fans quickly discovered following the remaster's December 2nd release, a number of jokes had been edited, as documented by users on Kotaku and Ash. Of course, they can't leave it alone because it's current year. Everything is current year. These altered jokes include one comparing the shaven from the head down rats known as skin bodies to skinheads. So the original dialogue said, oh no, the skin bodies are like skinheads, but 10 times worse. And now it says, oh no, the skin bodies are like those horrible hairless cats, but 10 times worse. We got to take skinheads out of it because Nazis offend Portland. And we want to sell a lot of copies to Portland. A reference to the French as cowards. The original dialogue said, you may call me Jean-Francois Sissypants, the cowardly French anarchist. The new dialogue says you may call me Jean-Francois Bonaparte, the new wave French anarchist. A dig at the tendency for some male internet users to portray themselves as young girls on the internet. The original dialogue said it's 'cause everyone on the internet has to pick an avatar, like a dwarf or an orc or a hot young 15-year-old girl curious about the adult world and willing to experiment. And the new dialogue says, it's because everyone on the internet has to pick an avatar, like a dwarf or an orc or a troll, but we've got enough trolls. Because that's exactly the same thing. Here are some other ones. Oh, they made sure that they took out any derogatory remarks about changing gender. Users in the thread also reported that the entire pieces of dialogue, particularly two conversations in which Sam and Max poke fun at how the ghost of Bosco's mother cloned her son's body and essentially gave it a sex change in order to provide herself with a suitable vessel. So they took out two lines. Why the sex change and how's life as a woman? As fans began to voice their disappointment and frustration toward being lied to, Skunkape addressed the edits in an update to the official Sam & Max Save the World FAQ, admitting to players in a newly added entry, we did make small tweaks to a few jokes that we were uncomfortable with, including in a game in 2020, because we don't want to be canceled. We don't want Portland to be sad. These don't change the game experience, and we feel strongly that it was the right thing to do, argued Skunkape. Unless you go looking for them, you probably won't even notice. Well, people noticed. Guess what? They noticed. Despite fielding numerous inquiries from fans on Twitter, as of this writing, Skunkape Games has not publicly commented on the backlash. However, the studio has promised that they will be making the full original releases available to people who want to play the original games. Oh my god, that's so typical. This is current year, guys. We have to censor and edit everything. So a handful of people on Twitter and in Portland aren't offended, and this game again is damn near 15 years old. What the hell? What the hell? Very interesting read, though. Again, go to Bounding in the Comics, check out the original article. I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.